Hey everyone, Glenn James here. Welcome to My Millennial Money. Today we've got a bonus little bit of fun, and I think you'll find this very interesting. James Millard, he's a friend of the podcast. He's a financial advisor. His business is Sufficient Funds. He's helped so many listeners really unpack their goals, their dreams, their aspirations, and then if needed, moving on to get some formal financial advice. So this is a live recording of a session that he does with individuals or couples, and he calls it Define Sufficient. Basically, these sessions, and this is a live case study, these sessions, they will give you an example of the questions that an advisor might ask and really help unpack the important goals in your life. Then you can just work out what we need to do, whether we need some advice, whether we need to do that, or whether we're all good and we just walk away. So have a listen, be encouraged. I just want to thank Jazz and Blake for coming up to the studio while I was not here to do this session with James. If you do want a session similar to this with James or one of his team members, go to sortyourmoneyout.com, click Get Help, and then just put in the comments, I would like a Define Sufficient session with James. I'll introduce you to James and the team, and he might have a 2 or 3 week wait because he's very busy, and you can probably see why after this. But I would really encourage you to consider this. Now, I just have to say a couple of things. This episode in particular, James Millard is a licensed financial advisor. He's an authorized representative of Synchron, AFSL 243313. This is general advice only. You need to get advice based on your own situation, and your ears are in good hands. So let's pluck this chicken. Thanks, James. Thanks, Blake. And thanks, Jazz. I hope you guys enjoy it. Bye.
All right. Well, welcome, guys. And thanks for joining us. I think what we might do, so I'm James. For everyone watching, we've got Blake and Jazz. Guys, you have been brave enough to dive in here and open your lives up to the community. And I guess just to give everyone a bit of context what we're doing here, and just probably a refresher for you guys maybe, you and I had a chat on the phone, Blake, and we were chatting generally about whether you need to see a financial advisor and some of those concerns, or not concerns, but some of your plans and some of the things you're trying to maybe answer.
Yeah, just iron some things out.
Yeah. Exactly. And so from that, for us, what we always generally end up doing, if there's more than just one very specific need, is starting with this session that we call Defining Sufficient. Sufficient Funds being the business name. The idea really is that you're defining and designing your ideal life before you dive in and try and bring the money answers to it. And so in my time and 13 or 14 years financial planning, I've seen so many financial plans fall apart because making money decisions alone doesn't get you there. Right? So the idea of defining sufficient is taking the time. Yeah, it's a bit weird, right? We're financial planning. We're supposed to be diving into the numbers and fixing that or working with the numbers. But what we're doing today is actually putting that aside and diving into your life, talking about what's on your plate, what are you working towards, what are the things that are important to you. So that's kind of where we're at, and so this is that starting point. And then after this, if we need to work together on a financial plan, then we can talk about what that looks like. But I guess my perspective on all of this is, how can I tell you what plan you need before I get to know you, and how do we even know we want to work together? Right? So that's the starting point. So from there, you guys are like, all right, let's do this.
Let's go for it. Let's get into it.
And so you went away to talk to Jazz. How did that conversation go?
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. We're pretty aligned with our goals, I think, mostly.
We are, and she knows that I've been listening to the podcast and all of that jazz, and she knows that I'm pretty interested, and it's pretty important for me to have a financial standpoint, or in some way in that aspect where I'd be we have our foundations in place, and I want to do it right.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So you've been listening to the podcast for a little bit?
Yeah, a few months. been
Very
binge,
good.
binge listening.
And Jazz,
Not so much.
not so much.
Yeah,
Some
no.
other ones, but not
You're
as much
getting
as him.
you're getting force fed
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
Blake.
I don't even need to listen to it. He just tells me everything.
Yeah, and she said things I would sound like an idiot. I'm going, no, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying it. I swear.
Nerding out.
Yeah, it's a good to understand the balance, right? So if you're hungry for that info, go and
Yeah.
get it, and then you guys can work it out together.
Yeah, that's it.
So from there, we sent you a quick online questionnaire to complete, just so I had a bit of info to start with.
Yep.
What we've got there is some basic starting points, and I guess what we use that for is the foundations for where we kick off from today.
Yeah.
So outside of just the financials, we've got some dot points on your goals, and so because we're putting the money aside, that's where we're going to get started. So
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. I thought that would be the case.
yeah, so structurally, I guess we asked you some questions around what's going on for you in the first 12 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
present time
Now.
Yep.
Then we looked at 1 to 5 years, and we looked at 5 years plus.
Yep.
What I would say is, there's usually a massive chunk of moving pieces and all sorts of things going on in the first 5 years. 5 years plus, it's worth looking at and absolutely thinking about. But if you're not sure, it doesn't matter. And I
Yeah.
guess the point of this session is we'll talk around it. And
Yep.
we'll see
Yeah.
how it goes. Right. So you guys have put first on the list, and we're diving right in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, get into it. Chuck it at us. We know what it is. So you're not going to
Band-Aid
surprise us.
Having a child.
Yep.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
I
wanna
have
go
some
yet?
pretty, like I've got endometriosis, so I have a lot of stuff going on with that.
Yeah.
And I've had like about 3 surgeries for that,
Okay.
all up, 2 in the last like 18 months.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of become more of a priority recently, just with how sick I've been. And like, it's just a concern that it could be harder for us later. So I just, yeah.
We want to, and
It's
we
just
both come
become-
from really good families, and we both are very family orientated and things like that. So we want to start a family as soon as possible for Jasmine's health benefit and for our
Yeah, like
overall
it's something
life
we
goals.
want anyway. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And with the endo stuff, I totally get it. My wife's got it
yeah,
as well.
it's just,
We've been there.
Yeah.
And we still are.
Yeah.
Both of our kids actually ended up being born through IVF.
yeah.
Okay.
And so, hopefully you don't get there.
Yeah.
But the great thing is there are options, right?
Yeah, exactly.
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so, so you've put it in the now kind of bucket. Now we don't have to dive into the detail there,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But generally, the idea is to have a child as soon as possible. Is
Yep.
that the idea?
Yeah.
That's the idea, yeah. Within the next, six,
next,
or obviously
yeah.
it can't be 6 months,
Yeah.
but within the next 12-ish
Next
months,
year or
yeah.
something.
Yeah. Awesome.
Roughly.
Okay. And now that we're on that subject, and you say
Yeah.
you're family oriented.
Yep.
Yeah.
How many siblings do you guys each have?
We both have 2.
Yeah, too. So
We're both middle childs.
Your
Yeah.
middle.
Yeah.
both got that middle child syndrome.
Yeah.
Nice. And so plans for you guys? Have you kind of thought that through? If all goes well with the first one, will you want to have more?
2. We've
Tap
just
out
been
at
at
2.
2.
Tap out
Tapping
at
out.
2, yeah.
No more.
I originally wanted 3, but Jasmine only wants 2, so
Okay.
she's the one that has to birth the children. So I can't really,
Yeah, you win.
Yeah.
You win.
No more. Tap out there. Just like
Awesome.
I want a good life for like, I feel like I could provide a better life for a family with less children in it financially, and also just like in terms of like energy and things like that with being sick sometimes. I feel like, yeah.
Get it. Yeah, definitely. For sure. And you've talked about, so moving on from that, and we can come back to that if we need to, but you've talked about house updates as well.
Yeah.
So this might be a good time. You explained on the phone to me, Blake,
Yep.
the unique housing situation you guys are in. Why don't you talk us through that just quickly so we've got a bit of context?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very lucky. So about, just over 12 months, maybe 18 months ago, I'll say, me and Jasmine talked to our parents. We said we wanted to move out because we were both still living at home at this stage. And my parents being in that age group where they're going, oh, rent's dead money and all of that good stuff. They're going, we don't want you to move out and rent anywhere. We want you to look into buying a property and we'll help you. My parents are in a well enough financial situation to help us out with that. So they have forked out enough to buy half of the house outright, and then they've gotten a loan on the house that we're now paying off on the other half.
Yep.
So it's in a nice area. It's in Empire Bay, which is where both of our parents live. So both of our families are in there. We'll be there for basically the rest of our lives, and it's made it financial, like it's well enough financially for us to be able to maintain that at the moment.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got very lucky.
Did you see that coming? Was that a discussion from a long
They've
time
always
ago?
said
Said
whenever
a few
we've
things, but then it was kind of not brought up for ages.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this is happening.
whenever I have brought up moving out with my parents, they're like, "Oh, you don't want to rent and all that sort of," because you know what they're the people from or parents from that generation.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, they think rent's
rent money's dead money,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So we have sort of like briefly, but nothing like to that scale sort of thing.
Okay. And so when it came to starting to think about moving out of home, so had you guys been together for quite some time already? Was it?
Like
We've been together about
couple
3
of
years now, so
yeah.
it'd been like maybe 18 months before we talked about moving up.
Yeah.
And have you known each other forever? Like, did you both grow up in the same area?
No, or like we grew up in the same area and we had like similar friendship groups, but we were never like
never
good
really-
friends within those. Maybe like a couple of years before
Yeah.
we kind of
We knew
knew
each
each
other,
other,
but we
but
didn't,
not
yeah.
well.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't even know he lived in the same suburb. So
Fair enough.
Yeah. I know.
So, okay, so both your families already live there?
Yep.
Yeah, like my dad's business is in Empire Bay too.
Nice.
So literally nothing is
Yeah.
outside of him.
We could say that.
Where's that? What's his business?
He's a barber.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Shout out to the barber in Empire Bay.
Fox and Blade,
Fox and
everybody.
There you
Go hit it up.
And I mean, I looked at the map before. I mean, I know the coast pretty well, and I've surfed all around that area.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Good
Whole
spot.
coast is
Everywhere on the Central Coast.
Yeah,
Great spot.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so you're in Empire Bay, and did you guys search for the home? How did that conversation go?
It was a bit of both. My parents and us. They sort of said, "Oh, there's these houses for sale and things like that," and we sort of went and looked in different places. And they're like, "Oh, we like this one," which was in between both of our parents.
Yep.
And it was nice. It's a 3-bedroom brick home
Yep.
on a decent sized block, and we was like, "Yeah," and they got it at a really good price as well. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. So they've bought it. They've paid 50% cash.
Yep.
Taken a loan out in their names.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the property's in their names.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you're paying the mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, amazing setup, right? And a
Oh
good
yeah,
foundation.
perfect situation for us. Yeah, great.
What? I mean, with that, does that now come a sense of responsibility?
Definitely,
to
yeah,
use
definitely.
It wisely.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get
That's-
everything, the ball rolling with all of this, like the finance and like getting our investment, like sort of portfolio built up so that we can make the most of the opportunity that we've been given. I don't
feel
want to, yeah.
Like we're in a good situation now where we could afford to do other things before we have more responsibility.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what we want to dive into today is what are those other things as well. So you mentioned house updates.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? What are you doing?
Just
What are
doing
the
little
plans?
things to the house that we're in,
Yep.
like with the house, just things that we go, oh, this needs doing, or we need a pathway down this side of the
Just
house, things like that.
pathways, driveways,
Yeah.
front fence,
Fence out the front,
like
yeah.
gutters. Nothing like major because when we moved in, we did a lot anyway.
Yeah, awesome.
So it's all quite nice anyway. So it's
good.
not
Nice
too
enough.
much to do. Yeah, like it's
Brilliant.
livable.
Totally livable. All right. So what have you factored in a cost already? And is this something you're trying to do? I know it's in that kind of first 12 months
Yeah.
box at the
So
moment.
yeah, well, we're still in this in the stage of figuring out how much, because I've never lived out of home, so even bloody an electricity bill and things like that, I wouldn't even know how much it is. But we're getting around that now,
Yep.
and we're getting through how much all of that would cost. And so we've got our account that our not rent money, but our house money goes into, and so that would be. But it's more than what the actual loan is. So where there's an excess sitting in there even at the moment that's up to $4 grand over a year.
Yep.
Which is like another savings account for us. But we've sort of had that, and we can say, oh, anything that needs updoing or anything that goes wrong with the house, we can just pull out of there. So it's kind of like a house emergency sort of
Yep.
fun thing like that. Yeah.
Yep. So it's probably a next step is just kind of figuring out maybe what sort of cost
Yeah,
are you,
and like
are
what
you working
the
towards? Have you-
first priority is out of
Yeah.
those things that we want to do, and like getting quotes and things to
Yeah.
figure out
Okay.
where we're at.
Good. Yeah. And I know you guys have got maybe about 20 grand in the bank, I think, at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
All right. And is the idea maybe some of that will be allocated to this up front?
No. So
Oh, no, you've saved separately.
So that's in a separate account, yeah.
Perfect.
So then we've got we've saved up an emergency account after listening to Glenn harp on about emergency accounts and all of that sort of jazz.
Yeah.
So that's been a priority for us in the last few months since listening to the podcast. So we've got about $12,000 in an emergency fund. And then within our budget that I've gisted up, we gisted up together, I've tried to allow $100 each week to go directly into any, like we've just done micro investing.
Yeah.
So just to go directly into like a micro investing app, just sort of get that mindset of that money can just go out somewhere else before we figure out if we want to do anything else with it.
Perfect. Yeah. All right, good. And so, all right, so the next 12 months he's planning to start a family.
Yeah, that's where
get a few things sorted around the home.
That's where our savings will be going to next, a baby fund.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And financially, and I don't want to dive too much into this because we can work this out later, but have you given much thought to what it costs to have a baby and what you might be up for there?
A little bit. Like we've
both
been doing some like research in terms of like there's been a few blogs and that where people have broken down. There was one that we were reading.
There was an episode on My Millennial Money where they had one of the, I forget what her name was, but she came on and she's done she recently just had a baby and she figured out how much it would cost and things like that. So we've gone through all of that and like the different things that was in like that, and we've sort of like sussed out of 10 grand is what we've sort of estimated. Slightly,
I guess, be different for everyone. Like she knows what she spent things on and different expenses, and some of them we wouldn't need, and then there's other things that we would add that she didn't have, and kind of roughly gauged that.
Okay. Yeah, got it. All right, perfect. And so so that's a good starting point. Is really just to kind of get your head around that, and start to think about what Usually there's you're pregnant, so you've got 9 months to plan for having the baby and prepare for paying those costs. And there's birthing costs, obviously. Yep. It might be getting pregnant costs, right? So, I mean, that's what we had with IVF and so forth.
Definitely.
And then there's buying whatever you need.
Yeah.
And I've got all sorts of advice for that, but I don't dish it out unless you ask for it because everyone's
going to have their two bobs, aren't they?
With that. Yeah, so, ask questions if you want, but we can do that later. And so outside of that, then it's how much time you're going to take off work.
Yeah.
That's the other expense that we need to sort of suss out,
Have you given that much thought yet?
We've thought about it, but we haven't really sort of planned around what's going on, things like that. That's where you obviously could help out as well.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess the idea is knowing that it's affordable to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
That's important. But before that, it's really getting clear on what you'd want it to look like if in an ideal world. And generally what I would say is with any goal, when you're trying to work out if it's affordable, start where you want it to be and then work back if you have to. And so if it was take 12 months off, for example, then let's work out if that's affordable and then kind of pare it back. If I said you could totally take 12 months off, would that be the goal, do you think, Jazz? Or
I think like after like maybe 8 months or something, I would like to still work 1 or 2 days for like myself as well. I don't know. It might change if I was to then have a kid, I guess.
For sure.
But I feel like also having that time for myself, Blake's like work, he does shift work. So he has a lot of like time in the day where I could be at work and I wouldn't have to worry about it, I don't think. And like both of our families are really supportive and like are there in general. Like they treat our dog like it's our child at the moment. So I just don't feel like I would have that anxiety about going back to, I wouldn't go back full time, but like 1 or 2 days after a little while, I wouldn't be too
good.
fretting about.
And I guess the thing about this planning stuff is that it has to be flexible for some things like that, right? Because you don't know how you're going to feel about it. You might decide that this baby is the center of your world forever and you're never going back, right?
Never leaving it.
Who knows? But
I might think that.
You might already know that it's not going to be the case and that's totally cool as well.
I think, you want to be the house husband.
I'd love to be a house husband. Oh.
And so, I mean, let's dive into this stuff. So you're in youth work?
Yep.
Yeah? And you said it in a custodial environment.
I work at the juvenile detention centre that's at Top of Carry-On just there.
Okay.
Yep.
I've got another client in WA who does something very similar. Yeah. And loves it.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What sort of work are you doing?
We work with the boys directly with like just making sure that they abide by the rules and like, so we're basically their role models and we also just like, we feed them and all those sorts of things. We hang out with them all day. It's all those sorts of things. We are their caregivers pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
Some people might say that that's, you're in a kind of a dangerous environment there, but you'd probably refute that. Is that right? Is it?
It can be.
Yeah.
It really can be, especially with the things that happened. So it was over 12 months now with the riots and everything like that. It can be a very dangerous job, but if you know like what you're doing and how to work with the boys, then it shouldn't be dangerous.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, good. And you obviously enjoy it.
I love it.
And career-wise, is that a long-term plan
I could see
for you?
myself working there for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, good. What about you, Jazz? I think you're at diagnostic imaging.
Yeah. I work at a radiology place. I'm full time there at the moment.
Yep.
I recently stopped uni for a little bit, just with my surgeries and stuff.
Sure.
Working a lot, then recovering from surgery and doing placements, uni. It was just like I was burning it at both ends.
Yeah.
So I've just gone full time there now.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like steady and
Yeah.
happy
So were
with
you
it at the
full time work and studying, or
well, I was casual, but I was doing a lot of
hours.
and then I had a second job. I was doing Saturday, Sunday. I was working like 6 days.
wow?
Sometimes 7. So
Yeah.
it was just getting a lot with
Okay.
2 jobs and
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
And
dropped one of the jobs.
Yeah, fair enough. And what were you studying?
Nursing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the plan to go back to that?
I want to go back to uni, but for something different, I think. Just with, obviously, as I said earlier, endometriosis, I just found the physicality of the
Yeah.
kind of nursing that I was interested in
Yeah.
and the path I wanted to go down. It was just probably not going to be an option for me. After my last placement, I started to reevaluate and, I'll have a think about it. And,
Fair enough.
Yeah, go back eventually, but
Okay.
part-time maybe.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
And so, outside of all of that, we're still in this kind of next 12 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there anything else right now that's kind of on your plates that you're thinking about or trying to figure out or planning for, or big expenses? Anything else there at all?
Not within the next
Not
12
really,
months.
no. Yeah. I'm just
Okay.
kind of enjoying not having a lot on my plate.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
it's been
Okay.
nice.
Yeah, that must be really nice.
Yeah.
And I think COVID has done that for a few people as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah.
it's just like no commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can't leave the house. And so you guys have probably got a bit more flexibility up here now, and it probably feels like you're a bit away from it. I know in Sydney for a time especially, it was like every time you walk out you think someone's probably got it and you've got
Oh,
to be
yeah, I
really
can imagine.
Yeah.
The anxiety that for some people would be crazy.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, moving on to the next little bit. You've mentioned a couple things in the 1 to 5 year mark so far. We've got engagement there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who wrote that one down?
That was probably both of us.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
Yeah, we're both on the same page with a lot of things. So,
We're
yeah.
pretty like open in terms of like what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, cool. And so that's the plan. So after that, obviously, is there a wedding fairly soon after, whenever this happens?
We haven't really discussed.
Yeah, I don't really mind, to be honest.
Yeah.
We're not too
Yeah.
fussed. We know that
Like,
we're going to be together.
It'll
so-
happen, and
Yeah. It'll
I
happen
don't
when it
really care
happens,
when it
yeah, for
happens.
sure.
Yeah.
And for you guys,
Easy.
is a wedding more of a kind of a checkbox? We know it's going to happen. Like, obviously, it's a great celebration. You're
Yeah, yeah.
marking the occasion. But what is that wedding idea? What is that for you?
Just a celebration.
Yeah, just a
Basically,
celebration. I used to actually do a little bit of like events kind of work and things like that at a wedding place. So
Yep.
I kind of have a rough idea of
Yeah.
what I would kind of expect. But just seeing so many people be so extra and pretty much spend all of their money, I just could never do that.
Yeah.
It's not about that kind of side of things for me, I don't think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So budgeting for a wedding, is that something where you'd have some family help as well?
We haven't really thought
Potentially.
about
I haven't
it
really
or
like
talked
spoken
about
or
it.
talked
Yeah.
about it because
Yeah.
it's not really at the front of my mind, I don't think,
Of
at
course.
the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. No, fair call.
I
Fair
feel like
call.
we just budget for it ourselves, and then if our families decide to help, then that's a bonus sort of
Yeah.
thing, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So thinking through, hopefully having a child in the next little bit.
Yeah.
Is the plan then, and especially around the endo stuff, is to try and have two in fairly quick succession, or is it just absolutely see
I
how
just
it
think
goes?
see how I feel and how like
Yeah.
we feel and how we're coping with it and like how our work's going.
See how the first
and,
pregnancy goes and everything like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I guess reassess our financial situation as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
See how stir crazy you go in the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good. And then you've mentioned investment property.
Yeah.
Yep.
Talk to me about that.
That's just, I guess, a goal for both of us long term because of our, I guess, unique situation.
Yeah.
We want to have, I guess, our names on a property as well.
Yeah.
As like, I know we have a lot of trust with like our families, and we know we won't kind of get put in a bad situation with
Yep.
not having our name on it, and they're pretty fair with us, which is great. But I just think, we want to have something of ours.
Yeah,
terms
That's
of-
in our name. Yeah.
in
They can
our
be helping
name.
us financially as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just have like a bit more behind us, like
Okay.
in terms of assets, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And look, while we try not to dive too much straight into
Yeah.
the money side of things, while we're talking about this, all
Yeah.
the good stuff.
So-
Yeah.
And no, that's good. Like, it's really important to have that on there because it, like you say, it is a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
there are financial goals and there are lifestyle goals and life goals and everything else. And even that word goals, sometimes it just gets overused. I prefer dreams, hopes, those things.
Dreams is nice. I do like dreams.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about all of this stuff, what is the investment property going to do for you other than, I guess that, you've already answered that to a point, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the freedom of having your own asset in a sense. So you've got a good platform, you've got your home sorted. It's going to give you that next step. Is there anything else to it?
I would just like it to be the base of our sort of future investment portfolio.
Yeah.
Just like
essentially,
growth, I guess, like for us, like so we can build off that into further investments potentially if we like go down that road, I guess.
Yeah, and as another cash flow, I would like it to be positively geared so that we're getting a cash flow from it as well to help us out financially.
And you mentioned, I think you said you were doing John's course, is that right? Or you've done it?
Yes, I'm almost done.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. How's it been?
It's good.
Be honest. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it is good. I've listened to all the podcasts and stuff like that too, though, so I've gotten a lot of already the information from the podcasts and things like that.
Yeah, nice.
But there are like little bits of details in the property course that they don't really cover in there that helps you out a lot with sort of the research side of things and things like that.
Yeah. We've done I've known John for quite a while now. It's
Yeah.
like phenomenal how much value you can add in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Working through some decisions around that stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. And so have you given much thought, or is this another thing you might want to discuss with us potentially, is how to figure that part out, as far as, how do you actually borrow the money, and can you use the house
We've thought about it. We have
Yeah.
thought about it, but that's where a discussion with you, and obviously I'm going to recruit the help of John when the time comes. So John, if you're listening to this, mate, I'm here, brother.
John, you're up, mate.
Yeah. But so obviously when the time comes, I want to do it right, and I don't want to jump into it willy-nilly. I want it done properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should just flag, because my licensee will want us to say this. There's a couple of things probably. So firstly, this is a general advice session, so I can't just come out and tell you what to do in this meeting.
Without knowing,
And you know that. But the purpose of anyone listening, don't go and do what I'm talking about straight away.
Yeah.
But also, as far as property goes, it's not what's called a licensed financial product, direct property. And so I can't actually give you specific advice on direct property.
Yeah.
We can help you model scenarios, right? And we can help you look at the affordability and based on this and this and this. And that's where we work so closely with people like John who can, right? And they're the experts. So they can dive in and look at the areas and help you figure out cash flow.
Yeah, that's it.
What to expect.
There's an expert in every different sort of area of everything in life, really, isn't there? So that's what,
I just feel like it's worth getting the knowledge from someone that has it, rather than just going out and making a decision and then realizing it was the wrong decision.
Yeah, later
and then
in
we're
life.
going backwards rather than forwards.
Big time.
Which is like my, I guess, fear a little bit. So I know Blake's listened to lots of podcasts. When he tells me stuff, I'm like, do you really know that, or is it just like your idea?
Yeah, it is good to have a good team around you.
Yeah,
that's it.
And like it's why we try and take a coaching approach to everything we do, because I don't want to be working like doing things that you don't need us to do.
Yeah.
Right? The idea is you're arming yourself with enough information. It's just you don't want to be dangerous with it.
Yeah.
You go and educate yourselves, and we'll educate you as well and help you. The idea is you're making an informed decision in the end. So you're making the call. It's not me telling you what to do.
It's just you informing us for us to make our own decisions, really.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so you mentioned investment property. In the next 1 to 5 years, it might be another child, you're getting the house sorted.
Yep.
Is there anything else that might come up in that time? Assuming everything goes well and you've got a couple of kids maybe by the end of 5 years, for example. I'm assuming where you are now, is that home a good size to handle a growing family?
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yep.
It's quite
Brilliant.
decent size.
3 bedrooms, so
It's like-
it'll fit us and 2 children in it.
Okay.
And the block is like huge, so we can
So if
pretty
we
much
wanted
do
to-
what we want. with
Okay.
it.
Sweet. So you could expand on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's
Definitely.
so is that the forever home essentially?
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
The starting point.
I've lived in
of the
Empire Bay
forever
my whole
home,
life. I don't plan on leaving.
How good.
Yeah.
And when you talk about not planning on leaving, have you guys? And one thing I'll be very careful not to do is put words in your mouth during this time, because this is not about me.
Yeah.
But what else do you see yourselves trying to do? And is travel on the cards at all?
Yeah.
Is that something for you?
It will be.
Definitely don't want having a family to stop us from traveling. Like I just want to
Just
get
keep doing
on, I
what we're
guess,
doing.
with what I'm doing. I don't.
Yeah,
wanna,
that's why we want to sort
Yeah,
out sort of the
I'm
base of
definitely
financials so that we can afford
not
to
a
be able to do that.
homebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, we drag our kids everywhere.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just think like I don't want it to change my lifestyle. I still want to have like a good lifestyle and not just stay at home forever. It's not my,
Yeah.
definitely like home is a base, but we'll be doing stuff for sure.
So good. And the ability to give kids experiences at that age.
Yeah.
I always
That's it
hear this
too.
argument. It kills me every time. But
They won't remember
they're
it.
not gonna remember
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's not even about that. I feel like it would
builds their,
be,
like personalities.
Yeah.
That I think with those experiences,
and I feel like it would be building our experiences with children. So you know what I mean? Like it's obviously going to be a
100%.
different experience, like traveling by ourselves as it would be if we had children.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
We dragged our she was 8 months, she's 3.5 now, Adeline, to a conference that Glenn was actually at in the States, in Dallas, and she had so much fun. We flew in, we were all wide awake in the middle of the night, everyone's partying. She's just being handed around different people.
Yeah,
are holding
everyone's
her in the
loving
car.
it.
She's 8 months, so she can't walk, she can't crawl.
That's a
too
good
far.
age. I feel like 8 months to be good, where they can't be sort of
Can't
running
run
off,
away.
going crazy. Yeah, yeah.
So you can have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
We dragged them to New Zealand last year as well.
Yeah.
When our son was 4 months, and so hopefully
Yeah.
there's no rules with this stuff, right?
Yeah, because you hear a lot
guys
of
make
people
it up.
say, "Oh, once you have a kid, you can't travel or you can't do this." It's like, why should it stop you?
I think like for me personally, I have two close friends and they have two young kids. One's about 3 and the other one's 8 months, but they just haven't changed like their lifestyle in terms of traveling. Like their first kid has been to like 3 countries and with them, and it's just, I don't know, seeing that I was like, you don't need to give up like your life as well. Like they can become.
It should
part of
enhance
what
your
you're
life.
doing. Yeah.
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 Absolutely agree. Okay, good. So, as far as travel goes, have you given that much thought as far as, is there anything on the cards soon? I know we're kind of hamstrung a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you have to
We're-
cancel anything? Was there
Yeah,
anything?
We
meant
were
to
supposed
in
to be
Europe
traveling.
right now.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But that, everything happens for a reason. So
Yeah.
Nothing you can't do with a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I have family in like
Oh, the bee halls at
UK.
Oktoberfest. You reckon you could bring one
I
on
don't-
your
I
own
don't-
around?
I don't know.
They get pretty crazy. They get pretty crazy.
Like,
You might be able to get a babysitter.
Yeah, that's it.
bring a parent with us for the week.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Sorry, you were going to say?
Oh, I have family in like the UK and Ireland we're meant to go stay with and things like
Yeah.
that. So that's definitely a holiday that we will definitely be doing. I haven't seen them since I was
As soon
7.
as possible, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I would be
Good.
comfortable doing that with a baby. Yeah.
As soon as you're
with
allowed,
COVID.
basically.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's just like
As
up
soon
in
as we
the air
can.
in terms of that kind of side. So just focusing on
For sure.
Ourselves at the moment. Well, there's nothing else to really.
Yeah.
That's all we can do, right?
Yeah,
Good time to plan.
that's it.
So, all right. So that's the kind of 1 to 5 year mark. And I guess, there's a few moving pieces there that we've already covered off on and lots of stuff you want to kind of tick off. Do you think
Yeah.
there's anything else we haven't touched on yet?
What have we done? We've done kid, house, marriage. I think that's just.
Kid, house,
Yeah.
engagement,
I'm just trying
marriage,
to,
travel.
Yeah. No, I think that's for our goals, sort of things. I think
Yeah,
that's basically
absolutely.
covered.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. And then 5 years plus. Now, we already know by the sounds of it, Empire Bay is your spot as far
Yep.
as your base, your home
Yeah,
base. And you can travel from there, right? You can always have that home to come back to.
Yeah.
So location wise is pretty clear. Kids, thinking about, like, let's say there's 2 kids, you've got the perfect family.
Yep.
Have you given much thought to the support or options you want to be able to provide for them, or is that a thing for you guys at all?
As in schooling, is that what we mean? Like education?
Yeah,
sort of?
whatever.
We the school in our area, we're happy with our kids to
pretty,
the primary
like,
school anyway. And then
good.
we both lived in Empire Bay and travelled for our high schools and things like that. So
Yep.
yeah, it's fine.
Perfect.
Yeah, Central Coast
Yeah.
schools I'm really happy with.
Yeah.
In other sort of sporting
Yeah, I just
everywhere,
think.
Central Coast is fine for that. I think
Yeah, I don't. Really
we were
know.
both born and raised in
Yeah.
Empire Bay, so I can't. I'm all right. I feel.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I went to a public school in Grafton, so
Yeah.
I mean, I might have turned out a bit weird, but I think we're all right.
Yeah, that's it.
I know.
I think we're all right.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you have mentioned that kind of 5 year plus future investments.
Yeah.
I don't want to state the obvious. I mean, it sounds like a good idea, but
Yeah.
why?
Just for secure retirement, just for financial security, I would say. Yep.
Yeah. makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like kind of interesting. Like I've been slightly learning about it. Blake's obviously learned a lot more than I have, but just even with our little like app, like investment app,
Yeah.
things like that, watching that grow and like what
It's just sparking interest.
I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
And like that it's been like a long-term thing, not something that's a short-term thing, and that like can take time. And
Yeah, you need to get in the
Just,
mindset that it
yeah.
is a long-term thing. It's not something that's just
I
going
don't. Yeah, I
to
wouldn't
spring up
say
out
I
of
know
nowhere.
a lot about it to have like a full opinion yet of what I want with it long term. But I know it's something that I am interested in doing. I
For
guess,
sure.
With
Yeah.
us, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Now we've covered off on careers. We've
Yep.
covered off on kids and family and travel and the house and all of that. Investing for the future and setting yourselves up and
Yep.
I guess using that platform and that you've been given in a sense, that awesome
Yeah.
starting.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, I mean, is there anything else there that we haven't kind of touched on? Anything else at all?
I guess
that
like
might be
once
relevant?
like we're I guess stable once we've had like kids and kind of know where we're at in terms of like finance, like our finances and like I guess our jobs. Obviously going back to uni part time would be something I would factor in. I definitely do want to
Further studies
do
maybe,
something
yeah.
more.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. And that so you were saying it's not going to be nursing, right? But
No, yeah, no.
still working
just
that
about
part
Working
out.
it out.
Yeah,
There's a
just
few
trying to
things
figure
I've
it
like
out.
got my eye on and that, and just in terms of like what will work for me, and like I just don't want to like take away from my lifestyle in terms of a career. So just try
Yeah.
and figure out what will work for me.
Definitely. And do you find generally you are pretty career driven in that sense?
I was really, really career driven.
Yeah.
I was like a bit probably over the top in terms of my studies for a little while, and then after like I had my second surgery, I just kind of lost that drive, and I think I just needed to take some time off, take a step back,
Yeah.
and think about what I wanted in terms of my career because my goals kind of shifted. Wherefore, I wanted to just have the most intense job and like
Yeah.
throw myself into my career.
Yeah.
Wherefore now I've kind of completely shifted what I
Yeah.
kind of want for my lifestyle, and I'm enjoying not having as much on my plate. So
Yeah. Awesome. And it's totally good. It's cool, right? Like
Yeah,
it's good you've
it's
been able to
nice.
make that call
Yeah.
and be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And it's working.
yeah.
And now you've got phenomenal plans and a whole bunch of stuff you want to start to
Yeah.
work towards, right? How are you guys generally feeling right now? You're pretty excited about it, doing it all?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good, really good actually. Yeah, I'm just enjoying enjoying it, I guess.
Yeah, great. Okay. So let's kind of flip to the financial side of things.
Yep.
Yep.
You had highlighted a few things that you wanted to kind of talk about, and just make sure that you kind of covered off on those. Do you want to just bring those up again as far as, that first conversation we had, Blake, and Jazz as well? Like, let's start at the very top. When you get paid, where does it go?
We've got a joint account that both of our pays go into.
Hub, I guess.
Yeah,
and
I
then
said it to
things
Jasmine, and
Yeah.
the word hub sticks with me. With Glenn says the hub, the cash hub.
Cash hub.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah.
And then, do you have other accounts for other things? How have you set all of this up?
Yep. So we've got a joint account for our groceries, which is together, so that we have like a card each that we can go when we go to the grocery shop and stuff like that. We've got our own accounts, which we give each. We pay each ourselves out of it, and then we've got the bills come out of the hub.
Yeah.
And do we have any other?
Oh, we've
We've got a savings account.
Our bank has like savers within the same account.
We
so
use
it's
up
like
bank.
split up. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yep.
So like obviously just like we have a dog, so we've got one. He's
got an
got his
account,
own money.
yeah.
Like it's just like all set up, I guess, into what
I've
comes
got
out of
it
where.
here actually. If you want to see it.
Yeah,
A little
for sure.
sheet. I brought my book. That's it there. I tore it out of the book so that you could see it. But that's just like the flow down of the hub, what comes out of the hub. And then we pay ourselves into our Up accounts, which is annoying. I wish that Up had shared accounts. So Up, anyone from Up, if you listen to this,
Oh, they
figure it out,
definitely
eh?
will be. Yeah.
So that we can have a joint account. But so we just do that because I wanted to use Up just to be able to sort of figure out different spending accounts because I know how easy it is to use and things like that. So then we've got that, and then we've just got our savings account as well, which is a joint savings account.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Is there an emergency fund in there somewhere, or is that doubling as
Oh, we
something
have
else at
a
the moment?
separate account.
Yep.
A
Our
savings
emergency fund,
account. That's,
Yep.
yeah.
At the moment, our emergency fund is in our savings account, so it's
Okay.
just going. Our savings is going into the emergency fund, and we will take it out of there and put it into a separate account.
Yeah. Have you guys given much thought to how much that emergency fund should be?
12 to 15 grand.
Yep.
We're at the 12 grand stage now, and we want. I want 12 to 15. So I'm happy with 12 grand at the moment. And I'm happy to start shifting maybe some more over to maybe a baby account and things like that, sort of for savings for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we're at that stage.
Okay. And so from all of that, then you're adding more to that savings each month, really, aren't you? Are you guys paid fortnightly or monthly?
We're both paid fortnightly, but on alternating fortnights. So money's coming in every week.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Every week you've got something coming in.
Yep.
Are you putting away something every single fortnight? How does that work for you?
Into our savings?
Yeah.
So every week we have, at the same time, we
amount.
pay ourselves, we pay our savings straight out of that hub account, and then the bills come out of the hub account when they come out.
Everything's just like a direct debit into where it needs to go, so we don't touch it. And
just so that we don't have
the
any
money that
control
comes
over it.
in to our bank is like
We can
our
spend it.
spendings for that
Perfect.
week, so
Yeah.
that we don't have to think about the other.
So we get paid every week. The savings account gets paid every week, and the investment account and things like that.
Yeah. All right. Brilliant. So did you use Glenn's spending plan to kind of kick all that off? Did you?
No, I sort of we tried one and it didn't really work, and then it's been a bit of shuffle room over the
we
last
just,
3
like, tried
months,
a
and
few
we've
different-
this one's worked pretty well for us.
Perfect.
So I've just
and
sort
you're
of
finding you're on top of your spending and your savings, and you've got a
Yeah.
pretty good idea of what
It's just
it costs to be
working
you.
a
Yeah,
bit
that's
better,
what-
I think. Like
at the start, we didn't really give enough spending money, so we ended up dipping into what was going into our savings. So we had to sort of readjust things like that.
Yep.
So it's been a bit of like teething time, but it's going good for us now.
Okay, good,
Yep.
good. And so from that, you've got something left over, and I think you might have said maybe about $2,000 a month ish.
Yeah.
Does that
So
sound about right?
it's weird because I get paid different. I get paid. My pay is all over the shop. So our budget is just redo. So our budget is based just solely on $1,600 a week, and then that is what that is. And then any extra just goes straight into the savings account. That if I get paid more, which at the moment I'm getting paid somewhere between $600 to $800 more a fortnight than the $1,600, so that just goes straight into the savings account as well.
Okay, good. And so, I guess from any kind of planning perspective, it could start there, right? We have lots of clients who come to us and they're like, we're earning too much money and we've got no idea where it's going.
Yeah.
And so for those kind of clients, we're starting with a spending plan. You've got to call it the dirty budget.
Yeah, that's it. The budget. Yeah.
Write it all out and start from there. But for clients like for you guys, I think it's probably more you've got that part sorted by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
But it's what do you do with it?
Yeah,
What do you do with
that's
that
it.
extra
Yeah.
amount? Am I right?
No,
It's
it
pretty
definitely
much,
is.
it's like
Yeah.
that next, like, oh, now this is here.
Yeah.
What are we doing with it? Like,
Yeah.
what's the...
And I think there's probably a combination of things, right? It's planning for the baby and being able to have a good buffer in place to see yourself through whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And often what we might end up doing is doing some sort of projections. And there's a tough thing about that is you start to have to guess what's the next 5 years going to look like.
Yeah,
but
that's
if we
it.
did, you could start to make some assumptions, right? You could say, okay, well, we might have a baby here and we might have a baby here.
Yeah.
And even though that may or may not happen, it's a starting point to start to give you some clarity. And it's not just about that. It might be about the wedding. So if it was about the wedding, how much are you going to need for that?
Yeah.
When do you think that might be? Which, if these happen at these points in time, will you're funding the home improvements straight away. And then if the baby happens straight away, awesome. From there, you might have 12 months off. For example, is that part going to be affordable? And then travel, when can you start doing that? And if you can, what's it going to cost you?
Yeah.
And start to factor all of that in. And then we can start to run out some modeling and scenarios essentially around all of that and say, all right, currently we know what your budget looks like and we know how much, and you're really confident by the sounds of it, what's going to be left over right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
What if you throw a few more things into the mix, and where's that going to put you?
Yeah.
And with all of that, if you can still achieve everything you want to achieve, and they're non-negotiables, by a few of those for sure, right? They're not budging, right?
Yeah.
Investment can wait. If you can't afford to have a baby, you're not going to start investing and put the baby on.
Yeah,
right? So, so you want to get those priorities. We help you kind of clear all of that up, make sure that's in order, and then get some real clarity over the next what that might look like.
Yeah.
And so the point of projections and looking at that kind of part of a plan might be to give you some confidence.
Yeah.
To know that, all right, we're still going to have $500 a month left over after we save for whatever else.
Yeah.
And if
when
that's
you
the
can
case,
decide,
what do you do?
Yeah.
And that's where the conversation could be, well, then maybe there's an investment plan.
Yeah.
And maybe it's starting to think about putting something in place for that long-term future, like you keep saying. And I mean, in your mind, is it all property? Or
No, definitely not. Yep. I'd like to shift between both.
Yeah. Okay.
Property
and
and
so,
shares.
I mean, diversification, the word gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But it's good to have a good spread of a bunch of different assets, right? And so the idea is, okay, well, how do you approach that? Your investment property for you guys is going to be your first asset, essentially. And that's a goal, and it's something, whilst, like I said before, we can't provide direct advice on that specifically, we can absolutely go, all right, if you did this, how's this going to affect everything?
Yeah, and how's it going to look and all of those things? Yeah.
And do you still have some money left over?
Yeah.
To then start to invest elsewhere? And investing elsewhere could be putting money into super, for example, for the long term.
Yeah.
Oh no, just like in that we have spoken about the like putting something into super, but like it does kind of
I just
scare
like the, I
me
would
at
like the
this
freedom,
point, like that I don't have like freedom of my money. Like if once it's in there, it's in there.
It is.
Yeah. So like maybe when I'm like a really, really long term, when I'm like older, but at this point that just freaks me out.
You guys are 26 and 24, am I right?
Yeah.
So you've got
We've got time,
of
we've got time.
Yeah, just like the freedom of my money and that like it is like.
Why wouldn't we do
kind of
something in
liquid.
the same, basically the same as a super, but we can be able to access the money if something goes wrong?
Yeah. So, and really good questions. And there's a bunch of different ways to answer all of that. So, if you tie all your money up in super, you cannot get it out.
Yeah,
Unless you're in
like-
some sort of crazy hardship, or the government did what they recently did and let everyone take 10 grand out.
Yeah.
But there are huge benefits when you get to retirement because it's tax free.
Yeah, tax haven,
But
It's like figuring out when.
It's
is
just
the
you've
point.
got 30 plus
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
until you get there. So it is about figuring out when, and when does it make sense to maybe start to put a little bit in.
Yeah.
More, yeah.
If it's not now, when is that? And at least you're starting to plan ahead, right?
Yeah.
And then separately to that, if it is about investing for the shorter, well, not the long term, it's just having something there for financial freedom, then, I mean, I do have clients who say we want to retire early. And if you want to retire early, then you can't access your super.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. You want to be able to,
Doing outside of that. And so I guess that's where it could go.
Yeah.
So you're looking at not necessarily a spending plan at the top, but what do you do with everything that's left over? And if we make some assumptions, what does it all look like?
Yeah.
How much is still left over, and is there room to tick off all those boxes that are, in essentially non-negotiable? So for the ones that are, and maybe that's, do you spend 15 grand going to Europe, or do you spend 10? Type thing. And if you only spent 10, well then
What do you do with the extra 5? Yeah.
yeah. So it's those kind of conversations, and that's where that idea of planning would go from there.
Yeah.
You also mentioned insurance.
Yep.
when
That
we
was
chatted.
my highest priority when I was looking to talk to a financial advisor.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I know we had the conversation. You said Glenn bangs on about it.
Yeah.
And he certainly does, but he does for good reason.
Oh, yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah.
Income protection is the most commonly claimed upon cover.
Yep.
And the average claim, I think last time I looked, was about 5.5 years.
Yep.
And so it's something that you're not just replacing a little bit of income.
It's a lot,
generally,
yeah.
You're insuring serious events.
Yep.
You're insuring things that are financially disastrous, potentially.
Yeah.
And I guess with all the plans and everything we've just talked about, the piece that's so important and why
Is that insurance, yeah.
It's just that fallback position to give you, again, we talk about confidence a lot.
Yeah.
It's just knowing that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Peace of mind. You're paying for something you hope you never used.
Exactly.
Yeah. But if you do need it, then it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys on the same page with that, Jazz? Have you
Yeah.
given that
At
some
first,
thought?
I was like,
She was a bit
I just
hesitant.
hadn't like learned enough about it. I don't think. Like I have like my private health and those kinds of insurances, but I just hadn't thought about it. But now that I've like I guess looked into it more, I think it's a good idea, especially if we want to have kids. Like if something was like obviously hopefully it doesn't, but was to happen to one of us, that would be really hard for the other person. And I think that kind of like made me rethink about it. That like it could be Blake going through a really hard time on his own with like a kid or something.
Yeah.
And having like no, I guess other support.
Yeah, got
Yeah.
it. Okay, Awesome. So yeah, I mean, I guess if we were building a financial plan, firstly, the starting point for this today is to work out whether we want to work together, right? And to get to know you guys to a point that we know you well enough to be able to help you, right? And so hopefully this whole session, talking through it all today, has helped you guys kind of air these thoughts around your goals. And I'm actually going to go back. I usually make notes and we'll write it all out, but we'll go back and listen to it, and really put it together properly, and then edit that and shoot that through. So you've got the record of everything we've covered off on. Yeah. But from there, then it's about, all right, well, do we need to put this plan together? And so if we did, what we'd be looking at, I think, is that firstly, probably that idea around projections, because that's a starting point to say, okay, is there some freedom to do something else with your money as well as just saving? And that will give you the clarity over that. Next step is, okay, there is some freedom potentially, then do you start investing, and do we need to kind of make some recommendations around that? At the same time, making sure that factored into your budget is that idea of insurance.
That's what I want to sort of get out of the way, so that we can have our steady budget that we'll have for the next however many years that we can just base on, and then figure out how much we're going to be earning on top of that to be able to figure out what we want to do.
Exactly. And so for you guys, if that's a priority, and you know, I guess for the benefit of understanding how we work, is we can just do an insurance plan. If that's something that you just want to look at, you know, all right, great, we're clear on our goals. We've got a few things moving around now. We might just start there. Then that is totally an option. Or the other option might be just doing the whole lot. And it just depends on what you think you're going to get out of it. And we can talk about that. But yeah, I think, you know, outside of that, would be there anything else that you'd want to get some help with? You did touch on super,
but
I've been looking at different supers. I actually listened to the She's on the Money podcast episode about super, which had made me think about it as well. I've had the same super. I worked at McDonald's when I was like 15, and I have never changed my super. I've always kept them in the same one, and not had multiples, which is better, I guess. But just in terms of where, like, even the ethics of like where they're investing my money and things like that, and learning about different supers and where they invest to like the future rather than in in terms of like
bad stuff,
things like that. And I just don't know where to start with that. I think in terms like of looking at different places and what they offer, and I guess what their like values are.
Good.
I found it really overwhelming.
And so it's not uncommon, right? It can be a bit of a minefield. I guess the most important part is that firstly, you're looking at fees, and you also want to be invested appropriately. And appropriately can mean different things for different people, right? It's about working out your tolerance to risk as investors, and working that part out. And your age and your time to need that money is going to dictate a lot of that, but also your willingness to play around with that. But then, as you say, overlay over the top of that, it might be an ethics concern.
I didn't really think about it for a while, and then I realized like things my money was being invested towards that I just was like, that's crook.
And so for sure. And so where are you up to now with that part?
I still haven't really found. I'm finding everyone, obviously, when you look at their websites and things like that, they're all the best. So it's just hard to kind of dig deeper into that.
And so, so if you need specific advice around that, of course we can help with that part as well. It will just depend on whether it's worth paying us for that, or you really do actually want to go and educate yourselves.
Figure it out yourselves.
I guess and I think what good advisors will tell you is that we don't want to help you with something that you're absolutely under control. It's about adding value to your lives. And so we've got to figure out which parts do you need, which do you maybe not, or which do we, still maybe take into account to a point and help you guide you around it to a point. And so that, that's a conversation we can work through. But
Any have you considered Sun Super? So have you considered Sun Super? They're still a show partner, are they?
I believe so, yes.
Obviously they haven't listened to much. I'm like, who, what?
Sorry, I had to say it.
All good. So we might wrap up there, but thanks Blake and Jazz so much for being super brave today.
No worries.
I think, you guys have been super honest with everything that you're dealing with and that you're working towards. I'm pretty excited for you because you've got some awesome things on the cards. Anything else you wanted to add to finish off?
No.
I'm good. That was good. Yeah,
it was good. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.